All right, let's now shift our attention to what is happening within the United States of America, where at least 4 police officers who defended the U.S. Capitol on the fateful day of the insurrection have delivered their testimony. And this, of course, was during a congressional panel hearing that was launched to probe the very violent insurrection that took place at the Capitol on the 6th of January. The officers, of course, narrated their ordeal in some pretty graphic detail, saying that they were punched, they were outnumbered, they were kicked, they had pepper spray sprayed onto their faces, and they were labelled as traitors by the rioters who stormed the Capitol. Listen in to what the police had to say in their testimony.
I, too, was being crushed by the rioters. I could feel myself losing oxygen and recall thinking to myself, this is how I'm going to die, defending this entrance. As Americans in the world watching horror what was happening at the Capitol, we did not receive timely reinforcement and support we needed. In contrast, during the Black Lives Matter protests last year, U.S. Capitol Police had all the support we needed and more. Why the different response? Were it not for the brave members of the MPD and later on from other law enforcement agencies, I'm afraid to think what could have happened on January 6th.
One of the invaders approached me like he was going to try to get past me and head down the stairs. I hit him, knocking him down. I told him to just leave the Capitol, and in response they yelled, "No, man, this is our house. President Trump invited us here. We're here to stop the steal. Joe Biden is not the president. Nobody voted for Joe Biden. I'm a law enforcement officer, and I do my best to keep politics out of my job. But in this circumstance, I responded, well, I voted for Joe Biden. Does my vote not count? Am I nobody?" That prompted a torrent of racial epithets. One woman in a pink MAGA shirt yelled, "You hear that, guys? This nigger voted for Joe Biden."
At one point, I came face to face with an attacker who repeatedly lunged for me and attempted to remove my firearm. I heard chanting from some in the crowd, "Get his gun," and kill him with his own gun. I was aware enough to recognize I was at risk of being stripped of and killed with my own firearm. I was electrocuted again and again and again with a taser.
The mob of terrorists were coordinating their efforts now, shouting "heave, ho," as they synchronized, pushing their weight forward, crushing me further against the metal door frame. The man in front of me grabbed my baton that I still held in my hands, and in my current state, I was unable to retain my weapon. He bashed me in the head and face with it, rupturing my lip and adding additional injury to my skull. At this point, I knew I couldn't sustain much more damage and remain upright.
Now, the bone-chilling accounts are opening testimony of this landmark hearing. It's been 6 months since the Capitol riots that took place on the 6th of January. Now, 535 people have been arrested for that. The probe that has been launched by the House Select Committee has now become a political flashpoint. A number of Republican lawmakers still believe that it was actually a very peaceful demonstration where the supporters of President Donald Trump stormed into the Capitol to insist that Trump should stay on as president. The Democrats say that the aim of this investigation is to appeal for truth. A number of Republicans have boycotted the committee. They've been accused of downplaying the seriousness of the insurrection that took place on the 6th of January. Now, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has said that Republicans are actually peddling deflection, distortion and disinformation. And also our correspondent who's been tracking this story very closely for us, Caroline Malone, has sent us this report from Washington, D.C. Listen to what she had to say.
Well, 4 officers from the Capitol Police and Washington, D.C.'s police forces gave emotional testimony about what happened to them and their colleagues during that January 6 attack on the Capitol. Well, large groups of people were protesting the election result that day, which President Trump had lost, and they rioted in Washington, D.C., attacking the Capitol building, which, of course, is the home of U.S. Congress. 5 people, including a police officer, died in that incident. Well, more than 500 people have been arrested, but few have been convicted over it. And it took 6 months to form the committee, with the political differences over who should be allowed in the group. In the end, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi chose 7 Democrats, 2 Republicans, after others were dropped from the group or voluntarily dropped out. Well, House Republicans, including House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, blamed Pelosi for that. Well, the committee's work to investigate the January 6th Capitol riot is looking into why the police were overwhelmed that day, what happened as the situation escalated into that deadly level, in order to prevent anything like it happening again. I'm Caroline Malone in Washington for WION.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.